Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest by Krishnashish Sharma. The Brahmachari sons of Brahma. The great sage Maitreya said, the four Kumaras, headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribhu, Hamsa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not stay at home, but became Urdhva Reta, or Naishtaka Brahmacharis. Irreligion, also Brahma's son. Another son of Brahma was Irreligion, whose wife was Falsity. From their combination were born two demons, whose names were Dambha, bluffing, and Maya, cheating. Both the demons were taken by a demon named Niriti, who was childless. The sage Maitreya told Vidura, O learned one, from Dambha and Maya were born greed and Nikriti, cunning. From their combination were born Krodha, anger, and Himsa, envy. And from their combination were born Kali and his sister, harsh speech. O greatest among men, from the combination of Kali and Durukti were born demons named Mrityu, death, and Bhiti, fear. From Mrityu and Bhiti's combination were born Yatana, excessive pain, and Niraya, hell. The descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. My dear Vidura, I have explained the causes of destruction in summary. One who hears this description 3 times attains piety and washes the contamination of sinful activities from his soul. Maitreya said, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe to you the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu, who was born as a part of a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayambhuva Manu had 2 sons from his wife Shatarupa, and the names of those sons were Uttanapad and Priyavrat. Because they were both descendants of a plenary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were both competent to rule the universe and protect the citizens. Dhruva Maharaj insulted. King Uttanapad had 2 queens named Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi was more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. Once, King Uttanapad was patting Suruchi's son Uttam, placing him on his lap. Dhruva was also trying to get on the king's lap, but the king did not very much welcome him. While Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on his father's lap, his stepmother, Suruchi, being envious of the child, spoke to him in the hearing of the king. Queen Suruchi said, My dear child, you are not qualified to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are his son as well, but because you did not take birth from my womb, you do not deserve to sit on your father's lap. If you at all desire to ascend the throne of the king, you will first have to undergo severe austerities and please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. And then, when you are favored by him, because of such worship, you will have to take birth from my womb. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, as a snake breathes heavily when struck by a stick, Dhruva Maharaj, having been struck by the strong words of his stepmother, began to breathe heavily because of great anger. When he saw that his father was silent and did not protest, he left the palace immediately and went to his mother. Dhruva Maharaj leaves the palace. When Dhruva Maharaj reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger, and he was crying grievously. Queen Suniti lifted her son onto her lap, while the residents of the palace, who had heard the harsh words of Suruchi, related everything to her in detail. Thus, Suniti also became aggrieved. Suniti said, My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by your stepmother is so, because your father does not consider me his wife, or even his maidservant. He feels ashamed to accept me. Therefore, it is a fact that you are the son of an unfortunate woman. My dear son, whatever has been spoken by your stepmother, although very harsh, is also factual. Therefore, If you at all desire to sit on the throne, as your stepbrother Uttam, you must give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj leaves for the forest. The great sage Maitreya continued. The instruction of Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti, was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Thus, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, Dhruva Maharaj left his father's house. The great sage Narada, having heard this news and understanding all of Dhruva Maharaj's activities, was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva and touching the boy's head with his all-virtuous hand, he spoke as follows. How wonderful are the powerful Kshatriyas! They cannot tolerate even a slight infringement upon their prestige. Narad Muni told Dhruva, My dear boy, you are only a little boy whose attachment is to sports and other frivolities. Why then have you been so affected by words insulting your honor? My dear Dhruva, if you feel that your honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. Such dissatisfaction is another feature of the illusory energy. Every living entity is controlled by his previous actions, and thus there are different varieties of life for enjoyment or suffering. Now you have decided to undergo the process of meditation under the instruction of your mother, just to achieve the mercy of the Lord. But in my opinion, such severe austerities are not possible for any ordinary man. After many births of trying this process, remaining unattached to sense enjoyment, continually staying in trance, and executing severe austerities, many yogis are unable to find the end of the path of God realization. For this reason, my dear boy, you should not try to do this. It will be unsuccessful. It is better that you go home, and when you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. Dhruva Maharaj said, My dear Lord Naradji, for a person who is disturbed by the conditions of happiness and distress in the material world, whatever you have kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction. But in my case, I am covered in ignorance, and therefore such philosophy does not touch my heart. My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is because of my being born in a Kshatriya family. My stepmother, Suruchi, has pierced my heart with sharp words, and therefore your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart. O learned one, I want to occupy a position greater than any achieved yet within the three worlds by anyone, even by my father and grandfather. If you will oblige, kindly tell me of an honest path to follow by which I can achieve the goal of my life. The great sage Maitreya continued. Narad Muni, upon hearing the words of Dhruva Maharaj, became very compassionate toward him, and in order to show him his causeless mercy, he gave him the following advice. The great sage Narada told Dhruva Maharaj, The instruction given by your mother, Suniti, to follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Lord is just suitable for you. You should therefore completely absorb yourself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear boy, I therefore wish all good fortune to you. Go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvan. Just by going there, one is drawn near to the Supreme Lord, who always resides there. Narad Muni instructed, My dear boy, in the waters of the Yamuna, known as Kalindi, you should take 3 baths daily. After bathing, you should perform the regulative principles for Ashtanga Yoga, and then sit down on your asana, sitting place, in a calm and quiet position. O son of the king, I shall now speak unto you the mantra which is to be chanted in this process of meditation. One who perfectly chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. one should install physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer various fruits and flowers, as well as other varieties of foodstuffs, according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus instructed by the great sage Narada, he, Dhruva Maharaj, circumambulated him and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which was always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Sri Krishna. After Dhruva Maharaj entered Madhuvan forest to perform austerities, Narad Muni thought it wise to go to the king and see how he was faring. When he saw Narad Muni, the king received him warmly and offered him a seat, offering him due obeisances. When he was seated comfortably, Narad Muni began to speak. Narad Muni inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and it looks like you have been thinking about something for a long time. Why is that?" The king replied, "O best of the Brahmanas, I am too addicted to my wife, and so I am fallen. And I'm so fallen that I have given up all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a pure devotee. I am thinking about his precarious condition. He is unprotected and might be hungry. He might have fallen asleep in the forest, and wolves might have attacked him to eat his body." Narad Muni replied, "O king, you need not worry about your son. He is well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead." The great sage Maitreya continued, "Thus being advised by Narad Muni, King Uttanpal practically gave up all his duties and began to think about his son." Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj reached Madhuvan, and after taking his bath in the Yamuna, he observed fasting at night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by Narad Muni, Dhruva Maharaj engaged in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj only ate fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Lord. In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every sixth day, and for his eatables he took only dry grass and leaves. Thus he continued his worship. In the third month he drank water every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and continued his worship. In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way he remained fixed in his position and worshipped the personality of Godhead. By the fifth month, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on one leg and concentrate his mind on the Parabrahman. When Dhruva Maharaj had thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation, and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. As Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe pushed down half of the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right. When Dhruva Maharaj practically became one in weight with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully closing the whole of his body, the total universe became choked up, and thus all the great demigods, feeling suffocated, took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigod said, "Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living entities. We are feeling all living entities to be suffocated, their breathing processes choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Kindly save us from this danger." The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, "My dear demigods, do not be perturbed by this. It is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of King Uttanpal, who is now fully absorbed in thought of me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your respective homes. I shall stop this boy in his severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation." Thank you. Hare Krishna.